Are you ready?
You forgot how it worked?
It's very possible. You're all set, bro.
Everybody, all right, hey, hush. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Too Opinionated, where this is another interview, and we have Ron Perlman.
What's up, everybody?
How you
Welcome,
doing?
Ron. Welcome.
I'm doing pretty good considering the times in which we live. I'm holed up in a furnished suite in Toronto, finally getting ready to go back to work on a movie that 40% of which was shot, and then sometime in mid to late March, you know, they put a pin in it like they did so much things right around when COVID began to announce that it was here to stay for a minute. So they interrupted the picture, and here we are. That was second or third week of March, and here we are at the end of September, just finally getting ready to go back and hopefully finish it without incident.
Let's hope so.
I know you're not saying Hellboy 3, but do you mean Hellboy 3?
I do not mean Hellboy 3. I really know you wish that that's what I was saying. There's a part of me that wishes that that's what I was saying, but I don't plan on being able to say that anytime soon. The good news is that it's with the same fellow who gave us Hellboys 1 and 2, Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, wow.
It's a picture with him, and there's a lot more good news that goes along with it because it's a phenomenal story. It's actually a remake of a picture that was made in the late 40s with Tyrone Power, which happens to be maybe my #1 film noir picture of all time, called Nightmare Alley.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Nightmare Alley. That's a great picture.
Yeah, and I always, very hard picture to find because Tyrone Power, who originally read the novel and then brought it to the studio and got it made, he owned all of his prints of his movies. And he had very specific instructions in his will about the fact that under no circumstances would any of his movies ever be remade or even copied so that they can be seen. Now, this was the late 40s, so there was no such thing as VCRs or DVDs or anything like that. There was no way to watch a movie other than going to the theater and watching it or having it appear on TV. But this movie was never to be copied under any circumstances, and definitely never to be remade. So it took Guillermo a long time to get it done, but here we are making it. And this particular subject matter in the hands of Guillermo will be rocking. It will be rocking. It'll be, I mean, you know, I'm not one to predict things, and I'm not one to hype things because I've been around too long to know that you don't do that. But it will be rocking. That's for sure.
That's exciting. That's a genre that we really enjoy, isn't it, Brett?
Yeah, I also think it's interesting that you've been working with this guy for what, over 15 years? That's pretty
longer than that.
Closer to 25, I think. Yeah. Really. 1991.
Chronos.
1991. I mean, I don't know what it says on the release date of Chronos, but it was around 1991, 92, something like that.
Okay, so so don't expect too much knowledge from me.
Well, there are such things as books that were written before you were born.
Oh man!
And you can actually sometimes go and look at some of those and actually see that. What year were you born?
99.
Can I say fuck you? But anyway, no, things happened before 99, and I like to point that out to some of my younger friends because they don't think anything happened before they were born.
Well, nothing.
But a lot of shit went down, and a lot of it can be found in books,
sure,
and in movies that got made prior to 1999, and in music, and there's a lot of ways for proof of life prior to yours.
This has been the best day for me already.
What's that?
I said, other than my father, I haven't seen anything that proves any existence before me.
Man, come on.
Come on. You joker.
Your
Hey,
dad
Ron,
was born. Your dad was born. Your dad was born in '87, right?
Yeah.
He was a very young dad.
Oh, I wish that were true.
Over 20, that's pretty impressive. I mean, I've been working with my dad for about 2, and I already want to blow my brains out. So that's impressive.
Well, yeah, I know these
Yeah.
guys put up with a lot. Ron, you guys have worked together. Really, I guess it's close to 30 years. You know, how did that relationship start?
With Guillermo,
Yeah.
he wrote me a letter, and he wrote it during a time where my phone literally hadn't rung for almost 3 years.
Wow.
I got finished with a TV show called Beauty and the Beast.
Love that show. Linda Hamilton.
Yeah, in the late '80s, and after it ended, nobody called me, and I couldn't, as they say in show business, I couldn't get arrested. And then out of the blue, this beautiful letter came from this young Mexican who had never made a movie before, but who seemed very steeped in my filmography because he was a lover of monsters in movies, and because I had already played 3 or 4 times with prosthetic makeup on, first Quest for Fire, then Name of the Rose, then Beauty and the Beast, and because he was somebody who was the premier Mexican expert in transformational horror films and monsters on screen, he was very familiar with my work, and so he was getting ready to make his first film in Mexico City, and kind of invited me to be part of it. I mean, I feel like more is like a good luck charm. You know, like this is we needed an American for the role. This is an American whose work I know and I've studied, because I've studied Rick Baker and Stan Winston and Chris Tucker and all these great makeup artists that Ron has worked with. And the minute we met, we became hermanos, which is Mexican Spanish for brothers. You know, two fat guys who love to sit and eat and talk about movies. And it was this immediate, familial bond, which also spilled over into the great times we had working together and hanging out and reminiscing about movies and stuff. And so it was this perfect kind of like relationship that started out strong and warm and with great fun, but also he kept writing for me. The more prolific he got in filmmaking, the more he kept taking me along for the ride, and writing roles for me in Blade and then ultimately in Hellboy, and now we're about 5 or 6 or 7 pictures deep, and I'm doing 2 for him right now. One is Nightmare Alley, which is a live action, and then I'm doing a voice in his Pinocchio, which is a stopgap animated new adaptation of Carlo Collodi's original 19th century. I think it was 19th century where he wrote Pinocchio. But anyway.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think
So
you mentioned Quest for Fire. I'm pretty sure that's the first thing I ever saw you in, and I didn't see it at the theater. It was on, I think it was on HBO in the early '80s, and I got to see you in that. And then Name of the Rose, I that was such a fun movie, so I loved you in that. I'm wondering if did you get a call when they remade it for the TV series? Did you get a call to make an appearance in that one?
I got a call to ask me if I wanted to re-up my subscription for HBO. that's as close as I came to the remake.
I was disappointed. I wanted to see you in that one.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
I thought you were going to be too opinionated there, but you weren't.
Oh no, I got
from my dad.
I'm laying low, but I'm going to build up steam here. You're not going to be able to shut me up pretty soon.
Hey, don't shut up. That's okay.
Hey, no, I was saying before we started rolling to your audience at large, I was saying I finally have been invited onto a podcast that kind of sums up my temperament to a T, which is called Too Opinionated.
Yep.
It's often been a source of great concern to my loved ones who are used to watching me build bridges and then fucking burn them. Right after we cut the ribbon, just completely like Bridge on the River Kwai.
So the first thing I ever knew you from was Slade from Teen Titans, and because that's always my favorite show. So I would like to know, how did you get that role?
I had been working the very first Saturday morning cartoon, well, maybe it wasn't a Saturday morning, but the very first animated voiceover job I ever got was with a lady named Andrea Romano. She was the voice director for Warner Brothers for decades. And she was, to this day, the best voice director I've ever worked with. But she was so prolific when it came to, and she did one animated series after another. My first ever with her was called Bonkers, and that's when I got to meet Jim Cummings and some of the greatest talents I've ever been in proximity to. Some of the greatest actors I've ever worked with are voiceover actors. You never see them in anything but cartoons, but they're so talented and they're so brilliantly imaginative. And I immediately fell in love with cartoon work, with doing that voiceover stuff, because it's zany, it's wacky. You get to go for the performance right away. There's no long process of rehearsals or discussions. And I immediately fell in love with it. And my relationship with Andrea just continued to grow over the course of the rest of her career. She's retired now. I am not at 70 years old. Shows you how much I like money. But anyway, she was casting Teen Titans. And I can't remember whether I auditioned or she offered me the role, but it was one of these things where we already had a fantastic relationship. We'd already done 5 or 6 things together. So this was, and this lasted for a while. This Teen Titans went on for, I don't even know how many seasons.
Brett?
5.
Yeah.
5? Yeah. I mean, the thing that's rare in our business is things that last for longer than one session or a few sessions. Even, TV series, you do a movie, even if the movie is a 6-month shoot, generally you never see those people again after that experience is over with. And when you do a series like Teen Titans and you get to work with the same people for over the course of 5 seasons, 12 episodes a piece, it's kind of like building a family. So those are the things you kind of remember fondly.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's a compliment for it as an actor or if it's frustrating, but a lot of people want things to come back or be remade, mostly sequels. Obviously, Hellboy and Teen Titans. I mean, is that stuff you're interested in, or would you rather move on as an actor?
I think for me personally, I'm really happy when I get to do stuff where I don't repeat myself. I mean, in the case of a TV series like Sons of Anarchy, for instance, which lasted 6 seasons, that was the other thing I did that had this real longevity. And it wasn't just a job, it was a family, it was a way of life for 6 years. That's a long time out of your life. So, you're not really repeating yourself, but you're observing and getting to walk in the shoes of this character for longer than one shot. But if they were to remake Sons of Anarchy right now, and somebody came to me and said, we want you to play Clay again, I would probably turn it down, because I've been there, I've done that, and I'd really much prefer to experience the next thing that's coming down the road for me, you know, and just stand by, hey, this is the work I did in this show, good or bad or indifferent, whatever anybody thought of it, but this is it. It had a beginning, a middle, and an end. And when the end comes, you know, with rare exceptions, like if they were to, if we were to do a third installment of Hellboy, I would, and the circumstances were perfect, which means it would be done with and by and for Guillermo del Toro, then that's not repeating myself, that's finishing the trilogy. And so I would jump at the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I think he said it's a done deal, Brett.
I don't think that's what he said.
Well, no, I mean, if you got 165 million bucks,
Okay.
and
Brett?
you can
Let me
shoot that our way, we'll try to get Hellboy 3 made for you.
Okay. I have $6 in Tootsie Pops.
Premiering on Too Opinionated.
You put that aside, son. It may come in handy.
I'll see you soon, Ron.
Hey, Ron, were you you've got to play so many different, or voice so many different villains, especially for DC. Deathstroke, we had Sinestro, Clayface. Were you a comic book guy beforehand?
No, I was not a comic book guy then, and I'm definitely not one now.
Well, how about Hellboy? Have you went back and read some of those?
Well, I read all those when I
Yeah.
finally got the role. I mean, Guillermo, it took Guillermo literally from the moment he introduced the idea that in a perfect world, he'd like to see me playing Hellboy, to the time we actually started, you know, in earnest working on the movie Hellboy 1.
Yeah.
It took him 7 years to get that to happen. And Guillermo wanted me to start reading the comic book the minute he introduced me to the character and the idea in a comic book store on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles.
Nice.
And then bought me The Seed of Destruction, which is the first Hellboy novel. And I never read it deliberately, because I knew that he was never going to get the movie made with me, because I wasn't a big enough star. And I don't have any problem with that. That's just the way things go.
Yeah.
Very expensive to make movies, and you need a name if you're going to spend all that money to make a movie. And I didn't ring that bell. So, but the other thing is, I didn't want to fall in love with, I didn't want to read this thing and then fall in love with the character and then have the you know, extra heartbreak of knowing, like, I'm okay with you doing it with a big movie star. I'm okay with that, but don't make me fall in love with the character, right. and then lose it. So I deliberately did not read any of the Hellboy stuff until he finally got the movie greenlit with me, and then I read it all, and it helped to a great degree. But in Mike Mignola's comic book version of Hellboy, he only ever spoke in one-word sentences.
Right.
You know, he was like Gary Cooper. He only ever said, yup, or crap, or damn, you know. And in Guillermo's movie, he needed to speak in full sentences and have an actual personality.
Yeah.
And have an actual life. Other than being a function of whatever situation he found himself in. So the comic books helped to a great degree, but what really described the character for me was the way Guillermo ultimately depicted him on the page.
All right.
Go ahead, Brett.
Okay. I write articles on our website, and one of the articles is about comic book characters who I think would have a better TV show than a movie. If at the beginning, if he said, "Hey, I'd like to make a Hellboy TV show," do you think it would have been more successful than the movies?
It's hard to answer those hypothetical questions. We did do a couple of animated versions of the Hellboy thing that were co-written and co-produced by Mignola himself. But when you've been in Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy 1 and then again Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, it's really hard to imagine how any TV thing could have topped the amount of care and production value that went into those things, you know. And it's also hard to answer a hypothetical question because there's no real answer. But I'm really glad we did it the way we did. The only regret is that we didn't finish the trilogy.
And it was a trilogy?
It was meant to be a trilogy. I mean, if you remember, to refresh the twisted minds of the audience for Too Opinionated, at the end of Hellboy 2, Liz is pregnant with twins.
I do remember.
Yeah.
So it's not as if we had ended the story. We were right in the middle. And we were in, you know, if you ever saw an invite to like, oh shit, what's going to happen next? It was the ending to Hellboy 2. So yes, it was designed to be a trilogy. It was designed to have a beginning, a middle, and then a resolve. And the resolve was going to address all of the promises of the Beast of the Apocalypse, because if you recall, Hellboy was designed to come and destroy the earth. And then he was raised to use his powers for good rather than evil. But in the third picture, you're going to have to see that struggle and which one of them will out. Will he destroy the earth or will he save mankind? Because his destiny is both. And so it was going to be this amazingly theatrical struggle between nature or nurture. And so if that wasn't a setup for a great end of a trilogy, which is why, you know, I express such regret when I say to you that third picture would have been mind-boggling. You know?
Yeah, see, normally after you've appeared on this show, stuff happens. So get ready.
Well, I hope so. I hope so, because I'm bored out of my fucking mind right now.
Sean's actually been watching. He's been catching up on the Hellboy today. He watched.
I just finished Hellboy 1, and it was crazy. It was goofy. It was just great. It was a lot more wild than I expected it to be. But I'm ready to watch this.
Well, I think thank you. It sounds like you're paying me a compliment, but
yeah,
I
it's
can't
great.
really tell.
It's great.
What do you think? What's he doing? Is he?
I think it's all personally.
Is that as excited as Sean gets?
That's it.
Oh yeah, I just think it's a great movie. But I'm curious what you think about the remake.
I didn't see it.
You didn't see it?
No. And it goes back to that thing I was saying about, you know, once something's over with, it's over with, you know. I didn't want to put myself into position of having to judge some other guy on a character that was near and dear to me, especially because I like David Harbour a lot and stuff. And I just, and what happened in that picture was really none of my business. You know, I had already done my Hellboy, and I would rather just leave it at that.
Yeah. I also didn't see it, but only because I'm poor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see it eventually, but I need to watch the second one first.
It's not going to connect. This is, you got like, it's I don't know. I'll just stop. I'll get too opinionated.
Well, that's why you call the show that.
Just got to stop.
Just got to carve out a little time for yourself.
Ron, you got to be in some of, like when I was growing up, you got to be in some of the weirdest movies, which I thought was really, I love that. I love that about your career because the stuff's so strange. But you were in this one I loved called Ice Pirates. You had a role in that.
Pretty weird.
Yeah, oh my gosh, love that. And then the one that you kind of starred in was City of the Lost Children, which may be one of the weirdest movies I've ever watched. Those
Very
were
weird. Very weird. Were you able to figure out what that movie meant or what it was about?
No,
I never
can you tell me?
Nope. And I was there.
That was the strangest movie. I know these two probably haven't seen it, but there's Cyclops and all. I can't even describe it. It's so weird. You have to watch that one.
Yeah, stealing people's dreams.
Yeah, because the villain, I guess, aged because he couldn't dream, so he prematurely aged. So he was stealing. Was it kids' dreams?
He was stealing kids.
Yeah.
And then connecting their brains to his so he could steal their dreams so that he could recapture his youth or slow down his rapid aging process. Yeah, you captured it pretty well there. I'm really. You actually did see the movie. I thought.
Oh yeah.
I thought me and my mom were the only two that actually
No. I love that movie. I like all that. I tell you another one that you did that you never hear anything about was when.
Most of my movies are like that.
No, not the movie, but what it was based on. When cable TV first came out, about the only channel that was on, you probably remember, that was on cable was TBS, maybe Chicago TBS. And TBS early mornings, this is when I was getting ready for school, would show Cisco Kid. And you got to we're in the TV remake of Cisco Kid. And I always thought that one was really kind of fun because I was a big Western guy. Well, and you did Magnificent Seven, the TV series. I thought those were really good.
Yeah, I had my chance at stand on a horse. Didn't work out very well. New York boy that I am.
You could play I would have said you could play a cowboy until I saw Sons of Anarchy, and now I guess you probably belong on a motorcycle.
Thank you. That's the whole goal is to make you think that's what the guy is. That's what the guy does. My claim to fame.
Well, one thing I like to ask all the actors who come on here is there a role that you
mean other actors have come on here?
No.
You're the first.
Okay, so you're bullshitting me right now with this question.
Yeah, sure.
Other actors who come on here. Come on, man. This is me you're talking to.
You're my favorite.
Oh. Well, since I'm the only one, that's high praise.
I was going to say one.
Actually, being totally honest, I'll never get a chance to tell you this again, but you gave me nightmares as a kid. Blade.
Oh, it's Blade.
Yeah. Scared the hell out of me.
You say Slade or Blade?
Slade.
Oh, Slade. Yeah.
Yeah, with those Hell episodes with Raven and Trigon. Scared the hell out of me.
Well, thank you.
Hey, you're welcome, bud.
I'm hoping to keep scaring the shit out of you.
I think you might.
For as long as we're both around.
So as I say to no actors who's ever came onto this podcast other than you, is there a role that you would like to play that you have played, just a character or a theme or a genre that you'd like to do?
I want to play the lead in Fiddler on the Roof. A balls-out musical Fiddler on the Roof, where I play Tevye. That's the only role I've ever really, really, really wanted to play that I haven't been able to.
You're an old theater guy, right? These kind of started out in the theater?
Yeah, the very first, my introduction to acting was on stage in high school. Everybody in high school gets an invitation to audition for the school play. I got a role, and then it was kind of like a drug, from that point on. I became addicted to being on the stage and acting and everything that's involved in it. So, and yes, I was 15, so that was 1965. And until 1980, I had never done anything but theater. My first film experience was Quest for Fire, which was 1980. So it was, I don't know whether my version of Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof would be on stage or on film or streaming, or I come to your backyard during like a dinner party and we put on a play. I don't know what version it would take, but I kind of want to always sing those songs and play that character. But with regard to the real answer to your question, the stuff that's been coming my way, including now the thing I'm about to go do with Guillermo, which is this Nightmare Alley role, is all of it has been way beyond my dreams. And so when I really opened up my eyes and realized, Ron, your life is going beyond your dreams. I mean, you're getting stuff to do on screen that you couldn't even have imagined when you were a little kid, imagining, maybe being in the movies. And that was when I just stopped worrying about, because, it's what's happening is beyond my dreams. And I've always been a pretty big dreamer. So I just stopped worrying about it and just wait for the next thing to just fall in my lap from the heavens, as it seems to do.
That was nice. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, Dad, you got any more questions? I've ran out.
Well, so I know that I read, I didn't know, but I saw that your father was actually a jazz drummer. So I'm mentioning that more because I know Sean would find that interesting, being a musician.
For a while, he hoped to be a jazz drummer for life.
Yeah.
He came to that conclusion that a lot of, because making a living in the arts is always tenuous, and there's only a small fraction of the people who are in the arts who can actually pay their bills by doing their art.
Right.
It's worse for musicians than for any other art form, I think. And he was one of those guys that ultimately came to the conclusion when he started having kids and building a family that, being in music was not going to be the thing that sustained him and put food on the table. So he got out of it at a pretty young age. But for the years that he did it, you could tell this was the love of his life. And, he had this kind of like swagger and kind of, like most people in the arts have, you're doing something that's a complete labor of love.
Right.
And, it doesn't feel like work at all. It's like you're doing what you're passionate about music, and now you're in music. So it's a shame when I've watched a lot of guys start out to be artists of one kind or another, actors, dancers, writers, musicians, and then have to come to that horrible conclusion like, I can't do this anymore. And it's a sad thing to watch. That happened with my dad. But I'm grateful for the fact that he kept music as part of the background of my childhood and introduced me to all of his loves, which was, he was a guy who was playing during the swing era. So Benny Goodman, Glenn Miller, the Dorsey brothers, Billie Holiday,
wow.
Harry, what's his name, the great trumpet player. But anyway, that was the background music of my childhood, and then Sinatra. And then he for some reason loved show music. And so every time a record album came out of a new Broadway play, i.e. Fiddler on the Roof, West Side Story, My Fair Lady, Music Man, all the things that were happening in the 50s, we had that in our house. And I played those records until they were so worn out you could hear both sides at the same time. And so that was the gift my dad gave me. It was my aesthetic. It was my first bridge to how the arts, the expression of art, through whether it's through music or film or whatever, is really uplifting. And then when I got into my first play in high school, that was when the connection got made. Like, oh, this could be my way of participating in something like this. And I'm one of the lucky ones that, you know, all these years later, I'm still in the business, and I didn't have to ever make that horrible decision like it's time to get out, like my dad did.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's hard. And a lot of the, I'll say artists, actors, musicians, especially that we talk to, it's a struggle. Your profession is difficult. You know, it's difficult to have any longevity in it. So we admire that, because I know it's I think a lot tougher than a lot of people realize.
Yeah, and you know, people look to the people who are successful and say, "Oh, that's what an easy life." And you know, the statistic is that 1% of anybody in the Screen Actors Guild pays for their life acting.
Wow.
Or maybe 4% tops. The other 96% are cab drivers and waiters and teachers and stuff while they're waiting to maybe get an acting job. So you look to a movie star and you go, oh, what an elite, easy life.
Right.
But you know, you don't understand. You know, that's the exception to the rule.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got I know we got to wrap up with you, but I got a couple of little ones I wanted to ask you about. And this first one, I didn't know, and I haven't seen it, which surprised me. But you did a Punisher short with Thomas Jane.
I did.
And yeah, I don't know how we missed that, because we're big comic book guys. But you know, is that out there? Do you know if that's out there somewhere where we can find it?
I don't know how to find that one. I know that it was meant to be a little labor of love. Thomas had played the Punisher and felt like he had more to contribute to the character, came up with this little idea for this little short film, and we made it with, you know, no money. Everybody worked for free, and we worked a few days on it. Thomas probably worked much longer on it than me. And I was very happy with how it turned out, but I cannot tell you how to watch it.
Yeah. I don't know how.
You just Google it, I guess, and it'll take you to wherever it's available.
Wherever it's at. So the other one I wanted to ask you about was, did you have something, Brett? Go ahead.
Yeah, I got one. So I told you this at the beginning, but I'm a film major, and I've made a movie. It's about 10 minutes long. It's called Shelf Life. It's about a boy who turns into a shelf. And thank you.
That's great.
If I make a sequel and write a character named Hell Shelf, would you be in it?
I'm very expensive, you know.
I told you I have $6 in Tootsie Pops.
We're gonna have
let
to
you see the first one.
This is going to be a very, very uneasy negotiation. But
he's already put all his cards on the table.
Yeah, all of them are on the table.
I have a hermit crab.
You have a what?
I have a hermit crab if you want it.
Thanks, man. Wow.
This is getting sad.
I'm gonna cry.
I wanted to ask you. I'm gonna just move on. The Island of Dr. Moreau. There's all these stories. I always heard these stories that it was just such a difficult shoot, and you had a lot of issues, you know, with some of the stars and the director, who I saw pop back up and did a Lovecraft film with Nicolas Cage recently, so that was kind of neat. But I was just curious, you were on set for some of that. Was it actually as bad as what everybody portrays, or did you see any of that?
Can I use the word clusterfuck on your show?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
There is a documentary on the making of the island of that version of the Island of Dr. Moreau. You know, there've been like 4 versions of the Island of Dr. Moreau on film alone since H.G. Wells wrote it in the 1890s, maybe 1895. And there was a documentary I can't remember what the name of it was, but that documentary, if you want the true,
The full story.
capture the true spirit of what a clusterfuck that was, go watch that documentary. But yeah, it was the most messed up environment I've ever been around, and that's saying something.
I wanted to mention this to the boys because I don't know that they knew, but one of our favorite video games when they were younger was the Batman Rise of Sun Tzu, and you got to play Clayface in that. So I didn't know if they realized that. But
I learned that today, actually.
You have something to live for.
Don't know, Ron.
Go watch that thing. You talk about being moved to tears.
I got one more.
Okay.
I saw in 2016 you're running for president.
Yeah, I had to
want to make sure you're on the ballot because you've got our vote.
Yeah, I had to give that up.
I had you a couple of potential running mates right here.
Well,
I'm way
I
over.
don't spoil it, but did you win?
When you look, no, it was. It never ended up taking place. It was 2016, and we had already had a decisive winner to that particular. But I realized by watching the presidency that I'm way overqualified. So I took myself out of the race. It requires a really, really stupid motherfucker to do that job. So not that, anyway, it's debatable whether I fit the bill or not, but I feel like I'm overqualified.
Yeah. We normally steer clear of the politics, but I couldn't resist.
Thank you. I'm really glad you pulled me right into your little web there. I'm a little too opinionated. That's my problem.
That's right.
Well, shoot, Ron. Thank you so much for coming on.
For sure.
It's a pleasure, fellas. Nice meeting you all, and I
Damn
can't
right, it's
wait
a
for
pleasure.
Huh?
I said you're damn right. It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
I am damn right. And so are you, Brett.
Thank you.
Hey,
Very
Ron,
nice
is there any other movies or projects you have coming up that we can look for you in?
You say Hellboy.
Yeah.
I'm in talks for a couple of little things that are percolating, but nothing that I can announce right now, other than the two that I announced, which is Nightmare Alley and Pinocchio.
And Hellboy.
And Hellboy.
And Hellboy 3.
Oh, well, Monster Hunter is in the can. It was supposed to get released here in September, but because the movie theaters aren't quite back to normal yet, I think they've moved the release date for that to April.
Oh,
So that's a big video game that we turned into a movie, and I hear it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Ron, where can our listeners, our viewers, where can they find you on social media?
At Pearl Mutations. That's PERLMUTATIONS, both Instagram and Twitter. I will warn you in advance. My Twitter feed is a little bit incendiary and a little bit political, and you may hate it. You may hate me. I'm just warning you. I try to keep the Instagram visual and fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Ron, thank you so much. This has been a real privilege for us. So we've been looking forward to this one. We try to hit a lot of the conventions, and we haven't got to get to one that you've been at yet. But
those are all on pause for the moment.
Yeah, they are.
So let's hope we get back to normal pretty soon. I'll see you out there.
Yeah, for sure.
All right,
sir. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Good talking with you.
Good to see you, fellas.
Well, I almost hit pause, but he disappeared. Timed it just perfect. What'd you think of that, Brett?
Stressful, man. I was stressed.
I know what he's so stressed about. What, were you stressed, Sean?
No. The entire time I just wanted to get my piece in about him.
I don't think
remake.
Yeah. That was a hard-hitting question. Well, I think he's got some opinions, but they're not good ones. You know, he's very loyal to Del Toro, as he should be,
Yeah.
But
I watched. We're still recording. I'll edit this stuff out. But
I can pause it.
yeah.
Now that we have
Sneaky.
edited out the too opinionated part of the show, we're back. He was great. It was he's a busy man. That was really great of him to give us a little bit of time.
If he follows me on Twitter, I'm going to crap myself.
Did you send him a request?
Yeah, I want to do it on Instagram too. If he does this, then I'm like, man, I'm gonna start tweeting.
Yeah, you should.
I will.
He was, yeah, I think I got a little sweaty. Ooh, I tell you what, man, these big stars, we're not prepared. Woo.
Well, I think out of everybody, I did the best.
Well, if I had to choose between the three of us, I would say I was best, and you and John were probably a distant second.
Well, I'm going to go with the flow here and vote for myself.
So, just so you guys know, I don't know if you noticed, but my dogs have been asleep this whole time.
Thank goodness. We didn't need them in there.
Dogs hate our Ron Perlman. They do not give a shit about Ron Perlman.
Oh, man. I don't know.
Show them Hellboy.
Maybe they're just over anxious and that knocked them out.
I just want you to know how close I was.
Show Hellboy. Yeah, have you shown him Hellboy? I'm recording. No. What are you doing?
No.
Oh,
You know how close I was to doing that?
You got to edit that out.
No.
Yeah.
For those who are listening,
not let me put
for those who are listening, I just put boobies on the screen.
Cartoon ones.
Cartoon boobies, because I looked for real
respectable
boobies.
show.
Those were too provocative of pictures.
Oh my gosh. We're trying to build a show. We're trying to improve our clientele and our guest list, which is, we got Ron Perlman to come on the show. And now you're doing nonsense like that. How are we going to get anybody else to come?
Maybe that's his plan to get more people to come.
Maybe.
Personally, I feel like
Nothing else has worked. We might as well try it.
Come to our show. We have
Too opinionated. Saucy.
I take the reward for interviewing Ron Perlman in pajamas. I think I'm the only person in history to ever have done that.
Yeah, I see you're wearing the classic Superman versus Muhammad Ali shirt.
Yeah, it's just because I don't have many shirts that fit anymore because of quarantine.
Hey, Sean had to change shirts because the shirt he had on was just blending into the background. He was just like a face.
Now I have a Star Trek shirt,
Yeah,
which makes me invisible if I lift it up.
Yeah, can't see.
I look like I'm in heaven.
You sure do, buddy. You kind of sporting the Burt Reynolds pose there.
Hey, how was the?
Got the mustache, got the little.
Did you like Hell Shelf?
The what?
Did you laugh at Hell Shelf? I felt like that was pretty clever.
I tell you what,
that was pretty good.
That's, if you were going to make a movie called Hell Shelf, could you get anybody besides Ron Perlman? It has to be Ron, right?
Yeah.
Like it's either Ron Perlman or no movie.
You don't know what's funny though? Like I said, the $6 Tootsie Pops and the Hermit Crab. I think I was pretty close. I think he would have done it if I ended.
He was on the edge.
If I was and the stress ball. He's
there's so much he's been into. I didn't get to ask all the questions I wanted to. But he was being so good, and we didn't want to keep him for too long. But
I ran out of my questions quick.
Have you seen? He did 3 movies called Howard Lovecraft. They're animated, based on H.P. Lovecraft stuff. I thought he played Shogoth, I think. I don't know. I've never seen them, but I wanted to ask about that because they were animated. And then he was in Conan with Jason Momoa. He did Drive with Ryan Gosling.
I actually did know about the Punisher.
Did you? Why didn't you say something?
He didn't like nerds.
Oh man, what do you mean he didn't like nerds? Because of the comic book thing? He loves us.
I think I was cool.
No, he thought you and Sean were cool. He was less impressed with me, but I'm used to that.
Well, I am cool.
I mean, it's hard being me.
You could have said you were the book guy.
And
I didn't even bring up Star Trek Nemesis, which he was a viceroy, because I was sympathetic to you not wanting to appear, too nerdy. So I didn't even bring that one up.
I didn't bring up that I was a librarian.
Hey, he thought you weren't a book guy.
I was like,
He was in the.
I was about to.
He was in Danny Phantom too. We like
Really?
That. Yeah, he was the vice principal.
Oh,
I knew
Danny
that.
Phantom.
Yeah.
Just
One more
switch it
thing I
up.
had to say.
Wait, let me ask you this, Brett, because he's played a ton of DC villains. So tell me which one you think's best. I already know, but
Well, he played Clayface. He played Bane. He played Slade. He played another Batman villain.
Sinestro. Yeah, you're missing one.
Obviously, the best one was Slade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew you'd pick Killer Croc was the one you missed.
Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
it's just like Bane and Clayface, I guess, was just in the video game.
The Batman cartoon from
Batman
the early
cartoon.
2000s.
Yeah. And then Bane, I really, he wasn't in the show that much. But, Slade was the main bad guy in Teen Titans. So obviously, it's like a full meal versus like a snack.
You know what else he was? What other cartoon he was in? The
What?
Tick.
Who was
it?
it?
The Tick?
He was Fiery Blaze. In
I got-
from like 2001.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, here's the thing with Ron. He has a very recognizable voice and a very recognizable look.
Oh, I didn't even mention.
And he's a good actor. So if you got those three things, you're going to get a lot of cool roles. At least as far as us geeky nerdy guys consider. He's been in a ton of stuff that I just love. Some of it really popular. Some of it that wasn't as popular, but it was.
I wanted to mention Fallout, but I forgot.
Yeah. Are we keeping you awake? I mean, we just talked to Ron Perlman. What's the matter with you?
Yeah, we just talked to. He's gone now, and I got to deal with you.
I know.
Oh.
It's a big letdown, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was in Prince Valiant
Well,
with Katherine Heigl, who I think that was one of her early roles.
Catherine
Probably around the time she was doing Roswell.
Heigl.
Isn't that what I said? What'd I say?
Catherine Heigl.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's not coming on the show now.
No. All right. Well, I think that.
What do you mean that's done? I might have had more.
Do you?
Might have.
No, I don't guess I had any.
All right. Everybody, thank
He was
you.
on Highlander. You like Highlander?
No.
Highlander the series?
Yeah.
I mean, I prefer the movies with Christopher Lambert, but the series was good.
Huh. Okay. Yeah. There's nothing that he was in. Hugma.
What's a Hugma?
Hugma. Oh, bro.
No. I'm gonna quit falling for that crap. All right, that was a lot of fun. That was great. I'm glad that the three of us got to do that one together because that was big time. I mean, man, he's in Toronto, just holed up in a hotel, trapped with nothing. I mean, he's obviously been there for 10 days and is like going stir crazy. That's the only way we could get him.
Yeah. Well,
if he was allowed out of his hotel room, no way he comes on the show.
I want to tell you something. Just I didn't want to tell him this, but I'll tell you guys this.
All right.
With the climate that everything's in right now, and not really COVID climate, but superhero climate and fan servicey climate,
Yeah.
I don't think that there's any way that we don't get a Hellboy 3.
It's coming.
I think so.
I'm pretty sure that they could do. This is what I'm going to pitch. This is what I'm going to pitch. We get Del Toro to write the screenplay, and we do it as a podcast on Too Opinionated.
That sounds terrible.
What are you talking about?
I would not see it.
You wouldn't download that and listen to it.
I would, but wouldn't
If you had Ron Perlman playing Hellboy, and it could be like a Father of the Bride. It could be Hellboy 3-ish.
Oh.
No, this sounds awful. This isn't.
Come on.
It's not.
How about we re-envision Hellboy with Ron Perlman as a romantic comedy
Oh.
that takes place in New York City,
That's better. Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah.
And we do that one as a podcast.
Why the podcast?
I don't know, because they don't have. They're not allowed out anywhere. I figured they
have
could
to
do it from home.
They have to do it through us then.
Yeah, they have to do it through us.
I'd rather they film it themselves.
I'm telling you, Hellboy, kind of like a Love Actually type of movie. You know, you open up the door and Hellboy's standing out there with signs.
I think that they should. Have you seen that Princess Bride thing that all those celebrities did?
I have.
I think they should do it more like that.
Yeah. They did a online remake type of thing.
You can tell them. You can tell him later.
Yeah. It was, yeah, really good. And I'm in for that. And that would totally fit on the podcast. See, we need to pitch this. You know, I'm telling you, I don't know why you have to shoot down all my ideas.
So thank you,
I'm
everybody.
just trying to grab a little piece of time.
Thank you, everybody. Oh, thank you, everybody, for listening.
You want to tell them all? You want me to do the spiel, or you want to do it?
Take it.
On a serious note, thank you, everybody, for listening. We have such a blast doing these. Hopefully, you have a good time, and we're bringing guests and content that you enjoy. Please check us out on our new website, meistercon.com. You can find us on Facebook under MeisterCon. If you would like to help us out to donate to the show, we're in the process of building a new studio, so even a few dollars is very helpful. It's patreon.com/MeisterCon. Anything else, Brett?
No, you nailed it.
All right, everybody. Until next time.
All right.
Boom.
See ya.
Right.
I said boom.
Excuse me. Bang, bang.
How?